police have attended that residence in the past, approximately a couple of years ago, where firearms were seized under the criminal code. I can say that at a later point in time, the lawful owner of those firearms petitioned for those firearms to be returned, and they were.
Were criminal charges laid in relation to those firearms?
No.
Before we get into the topic of the day, I want us to take a moment of silence for the Tumbler Ridge victims and their families. My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberals. We are the political orphans. Tough story in the news today. This has been going, I don't want to say viral, but at the end of the day, that's pretty much what's happening right now. Everywhere you look, all you can hear about is Tumbler Ridge, Tumbler Ridge, Tumbler Ridge. And obviously, you guys know why. You understand, you're probably already aware of what happened today. And one of the first things I want to make clear is I will never use the name of a mass shooter. I will never refer to him by name. I will simply call him the shooter, the male, the dude, the shooter, whatever. But I will not, I refuse to, yeah, exactly. But I refuse to use their names because a lot of those shooters, most of those shooters do it for fame. They want to be recognized for what they did, and I refuse to participate. I do have an update from the RCMP that I shared earlier on my social media that I want to show you guys because it's very revealing. We are talking, it is a case that is very, very interesting because of who the guy was and what happened in the past. So before we do get to the RCMP video, I wanted to just kind of touch base on what we know now. So we know that it was a male shooter, 18 years old, with serious mental health issues, who identified as a female. We are speaking about 9 people are reported dead with 27 others injured. 2 are in serious conditions. The remaining 25 suffered non-life-threatening injuries. As part of the 9 that were murdered, the mother and the stepbrother of the victim were the first 2 victims. Then this is where things get very dicey. So there were 2 firearms used in the shooting, a long gun and a modified handgun. It's safe to assume, and I have no proof of this yet because they haven't released the type of firearms that they recovered from the crime scene. But let's be honest here. If it was an AR-15, a mini Ruger, if it was a black plastic looking gun, they wouldn't have called it a long gun. They would have called it an assault style rifle. And the other thing that is worth mentioning is that the handgun they recovered, they refer to it as a modified handgun. So whatever that means, probably the barrel is shorter, the magazine is extended more than what you're supposed to have legally in Canada. I don't know yet, but that sounds like something that's already illegal in Canada. FYI, I'm reading between the lines, but I think we can all agree that if it was an AR-15, we would know it would be plastered everywhere.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're calling it a modified handgun, there's something wrong there.
I'm pretty sure that I've seen quite a few pictures of the shooter as a kid and whatnot, and he's often with guns. I think that it was a big gun owning family. But every picture I saw, they were all hunting rifles.
Hunting rifles or shotguns. This is what, if I had to guess, it's a shotgun. Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I saw the pictures of the safe, if they're accurate or not. Oh yeah, 100%. That's the first thing that would have been mentioned everywhere. That being said, I researched this a lot today, and there's a video that was released a few hours ago by the RCMP. It's about 3 minutes long. I want to play this video because it does speak a lot about the shooter, the state of mind, and the type of person that we're dealing with here. So here is the RCMP answering questions from journalists earlier today.
Expand a little bit on the suspect. Was he known to police? Were there any red flags regarding his mental health?
So a suspect is identified as an 18-year-old female by the name of Jessie. We have a history of police attendance at the family residence. Some of those calls were related to mental health issues.
So I'm going to stop it there because already we're 30 seconds in and that's very revealing. So the reporter slash journalist calls him, then, or he, should I say, then the RCMP agent calls him her. He calls him an 18-year-old woman, but we're talking about a dude, not a woman. We're talking about a dude here. And we're already hearing within 30 seconds that there were mental health issues. And you'll see it gets more and more and more deep down the rabbit hole of what the problem actually is here. Did you hear the first 30 seconds? Because I see you dropped off. Rob?
Yeah, no, I just restarted. I had to close some stuff. I'll be a lot faster now. But yeah, I missed
Okay,
the
cool.
first seconds.
No worries. Let's continue the video.
Yep.
I don't know why. Hold on. Some reason the video is not playing anymore. Nice. There we go.
Can you spell the suspect's name, please?
There we go.
Yes. The first name is spelled Jesse. The surname is spelled capital VAN and space capital ROOTSELAAR.
Were the two victims found at the residence where the suspect lived?
Yes.
And why can't you elaborate on the relationship?
I don't know why the video keeps on freezing there. Let me restart it again. That's quite annoying.
Yeah, because this is just getting good. This
is exactly this is the part that starts answering some of the questions that we have. So let me just reload the video here. We're about a minute in. I'm just gonna bring it back up here. Here we go. That should take a second right there. Let's try that again.
Suspect lived.
Yes.
And why can't you elaborate on the relationship between the victims and in that residence and
I can't elaborate on that. So it is believed the victims of that residence and the suspect are family members.
can you say what parent sibling, what relationship that is?
Yes, the female adult victim is the mother of the suspect, and the youth male is the brother of the suspect, or stepbrother.
Can you expand? You talked about abuse.
So basically, before going to the school, he shot his mother and his stepbrother. That's basically what we're hearing here.
Yes, that's correct.
Of mental health with this female suspect. Could you expand on that?
I'll give you perhaps remaining some general comments on that. Police had attended that residence on multiple occasions over the past several years, dealing with concerns of mental health with respect to our suspect. I can say that on different occasions, the suspect was apprehended for assessment and follow-up.
So apprehended under the.
So there we go again. So we're talking about the police having gone to the house multiple times in the past several years. So this is something that we've seen many times in the
For
US
that
where
kid.
the police is aware of a problem, and still that dude is still at that house where guns are present. We'll talk more about this because I'm a gun owner, so I understand what the consequences are, what you're supposed to, you're evaluated on that type of stuff. You're not, these type of events are very indicative that we have a massive problem, but the problem is not gun problems. We'll touch on that after the video, but that video is very, very, very revealing.
Was he known to police? Were there any red
Oh,
flags
fuck yeah.
regarding his mental health?
Of course there was.
Yeah,
Suspect
it.
identified as
No,
a
you go ahead.
10-year-old female,
We'll finish up.
by the name of Jessica.
No, finish up.
We have a history of police attendance at the family residence.
18-year-old
Some of
female.
those calls were related to mental health issues.
Could you spell the suspect's name, please?
Yes. The first name is spelled Jess.
Okay, I don't know why the video rebooted. Man, YouTube is not
with respect to
enjoyable
our
today.
Suspect. I can say that on different occasions, the suspect was apprehended for assessment and follow-up.
So apprehended under the Mental Health Act,
Yes.
taken to hospital.
In some circumstances, yes.
Any indication whether or not the suspect was receiving any help for their mental health situation regarding counseling, any of those services that are involved?
I don't have that information at this time. If the suspect was currently receiving care, I don't have that information at this time.
Any of the interactions with police, did any of them have to do with weapons?
Yes.
In particular?
Yes.
Could you expand on that, please?
I will say that, again, I'm not trying to be too circumspect, but police have attended that residence in the past, approximately a couple of years ago, where firearms were seized under the criminal code. I can say that at a later point in time, the lawful owner of those firearms petitioned for those firearms to be returned, and they were.
Were criminal charges laid in relation to those firearms?
No.
So there you have it. That is the questions that the RCMP answered earlier. So basically, the RCMP called him a woman when it was a dude. History of mental illness. The RCMPs visited the house at multiple occasions over the past several years. The man was brought in under the Mental Health Act. Guns were seized and then returned, and there was no criminal charges ever put on that man. And notice when they were talking about where guns were seized and then returned to their rightful owner. So clearly they're not talking about the 18-year-old men. They're talking about somebody else that lives in that residence that had legally obtained firearms. Like they were legally in right to have those firearms.
It was.
It's possible they're not saying like they're not
in a piece earlier.
They didn't say it. It's possible. It would make sense.
I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere. Yeah, I think it was the father there, and then he petitioned to have the guns back, and they weren't illegal guns. They were legal, so I think they couldn't keep them.
Technically, that's wrong because I can tell you, as somebody that owns firearms, you cannot have somebody. Of course not, bro. It is not easy to obtain firearms in Canada. It is very hard to obtain firearms. Not only do you have to do the courses, but you are evaluated in those courses. One of the things, I know people that give that course, that give the PAL in Canada, and one of their things that they're trained on by the RCMP is to recognize mental illnesses, to recognize why somebody wants guns, because that is a question that they will ask you. So they are trained to recognize mental illness and why people want those firearms. But not only that, but if you are a legal gun owner like myself, my name is ran through to federal databases every single day to make sure that nothing is happening to me, or I haven't committed a crime, basically, that I didn't do something wrong that could cause me to lose my firearms. This is something that the average individual in Canada that do not have firearms don't understand. So we're talking about somebody with a serious mental health issue that has access to guns, that is somehow in the same house where firearms are present. This is not okay. This is not right. This is something that should have been investigated. This is something that should have been addressed. Because how can you explain what happened today? You had somebody with a serious mental issues having access to firearms. That is a no-no right there. So what we're seeing today is not a gun problem. What we're seeing is an enforcement problem, as in the RCMP did not do their jobs. And what we're seeing is mental health issues. We're talking about an 18-year-old boy that thought he was a woman. This is problematic, to say the least. And this is not being addressed. You see that even in the news, they keep on saying that that was a woman, that was a woman, that was a woman. It was not a woman. It was a man that had mental issues that believed he was a woman, but he was still a he. And we're talking about somebody that was probably on antidepressant. This is, again, something that we need, that is not being addressed in that RCMP video. They're not saying the medication that he was under, because the journalist did ask if that person was being treated, if that guy was being treated. And they said they didn't know. I don't believe that for 1 second. Of course they knew. They're just not addressing, they just don't want to address that question. Because let's be honest here. For them to admit that a trans individual is causing issue that should not be around guns, that would mean they would need to admit in public that trans individuals are a problem. They're not going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole. This is why you're seeing the RCMP dancing around. Oh, it's a woman. No, it's a dude with mental issues that was living in a house where guns were accessible. That is a no-no. Let's call the facts here. The RCMP did not do their fucking job. Plain and simple. There's no way that guy and those guns should have been in the same house. That is not how it's supposed to be working. How did that guy have access to firearms? That's a no-no right there. The RCMP did not do what they were supposed to do, and I guarantee you that it's because he was trans. That is a subject that they don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole.
100%.
Although, did you see that? Did you see what Elon Musk shared earlier? Elon Musk shared this. I have to confirm the numbers to make sure that they're exact.
Oh yeah,
but I know that they're I know those numbers to be pretty damn close last time I checked. Yeah. So if you look at your screen right now, it's basically mass shooter rates by demographic between 2015 and 2025. And those are public incidents with 4 or more fatalities. So trans-binary biological males are the top mass shooters. Then you have trans-binary biological female. Yeah, they're right under. And then it's Asian men, black men, white men, Asian women, and Hispanic women. But you're talking at least 4 to 5 times more trans binary biological male will make mass shooters or will shoot people than white people. How messed up. That is a statistic that the left must not like to see.
Well, no, and
but go ahead, man.
Those first two, the first two are a huge jump, a huge gap between the first two and the third place one and fourth place. It was almost like 50% more. And it's it's worth at this point. It's clearly a pattern. There's clearly something going on transgender
Yep.
identified people. And I'm not talking, it doesn't have to be some crazy conspiracy theory, but it's worth asking if pumping really ill people full of hormones, testosterone, estrogen, if that's not causing some of these people to become homicidal, because there's clearly something going on. The whole thing is an absolute disaster. Just transgender ideology. It's harming these kids, and this is the inevitable result. Yeah, of course. If you take a mentally ill person and instead of treating their mental illness, you cut their penis off, or you pump them full of testosterone or estrogen or hormones their body wasn't designed for, and then say, oh, you're all better now. And then they realize, no, actually, I'm not better. I'm actually worse, because now my body's mutilated and I'm still like, yeah, some of them are going to probably react like this. Like, these are, you're basically, this is a ticking time bomb, this ideology, and no one can fucking talk about it. We can't even ask these questions. You've got the RCMP who is literally saying this person is a female, and that's a whole other issue. This is not a female. Like, reality matters. Fucking truth matters. You cannot lie to us. They say a lot of things on social media today was saying, oh, don't politicize it for anyone talking about that this guy is, this is a male. And it's like, no, motherfucker, you guys politicize it. The RCMP politicized it when they said this is a female shooter, because it's not. It's a man.
You're absolutely right. I've been told this multiple times today that I shouldn't politicize this, and I did not make this a political topic. The left, the woke did. You guys made it a political topic. I didn't.
Exactly.
Saying that guy was mentally ill is not a political view. That is a fucking fact. Me saying that somebody with mental illnesses should not be around guns is not a political issue. That's a fucking fact. That's just common sense right there. I want to take, before we continue, I want to take this comment right here. So basically, you want to read it?
Yeah, Ty Williams says, you can try to gaslight, but we all know white males like yourselves are notorious for mass shootings. I see to bring up the graphic that you brought up.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it back again. That's why I wanted you to read it while I do that. But that turns out to be, actually, it's probably not false in a sense that here's the graphic. Here, I'm just going to take the comment away so that we can see it better. But basically, most of the people that commit mass shootings are trans, non-binary, either biological male or biological female. And we're talking 17. So you're basically talking 4 times more. There's 4 times more chance of a trans individual. Well, technically it would be more than that, because you would need to combine both the trans-binary, biological male and biological female. So you're basically looking at almost 10 times more chances that person is trans than they are white male, unless it turns out that the trans biological male is also white. Then yes, that would be a white male. So technically you're not incorrect, but the way that you said it is incorrect. You said it in a way to try to make it sound like
a white male today.
So in that case, yes, correct. But I agree, man, that whole thing of saying not to politicize this is insane, is absolutely insane, because they are the one that politicized everything. I'm just, let's say, responding to what's going on with common sense comments. I'm not trying to make this political at all. But, to go back to what we were seeing earlier, I've seen studies that the percentage was higher, but just quick studies shows that 25 to 40% of transgender individuals are on some type of prescription drugs like antidepressant, which is 3.4 to 3.9 times more than non-trans people, so regular people. So don't tell me that there's not a correlation between trans individuals on antidepressant causing more mass shootings. There is a correlation there. The numbers show it. You might not like it, but that's a fact. Again, those are not emotions, those are facts. And we need to be able to address those because there is a problem. It is not a gun problem. It is a health crisis. We have a mental health crisis in the West that is not being addressed. Not only is it not being addressed, it's being encouraged. It's being reinforced is the word I should use, is reinforced. Because we don't want to address it. We don't want to say that they do have mental issues. Like, this is wrong to say this. Would you go take advice from somebody that's anorexic when it comes to your diet? No, because they have a mental issue. Like, let's be real here.
Yeah. Yep.
So
it's you know,
go ahead, Rob.
Sorry, go ahead. Okay, no, I'm lagging a little bit. You go ahead, and then I'll jump in.
But no, it's okay. You can go. But all I was going to say is that I wrote this. I posted this morning on my social media. I said, however you feel about gun rights, Carney's gun buyback wasn't doing well until yesterday. Watch the liberals do what they do best. Use tragic events like Tumbler Ridge, BC, the mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC to push their agenda. And the question that I had for my followers, will Canadians fall for it? Or will they finally realize that legal gun owners like me are not the problem? We're not the problem. And this needs to be addressed. We need to be able to say what the actual problem is, and it's mental health.
This is not going to be an illegal gun.
No. As far as I know, those guns, although I don't like the modified handgun, because if you're not, it's very, very strict what you're capable of doing to your firearms in Canada. Like modifying them, modifying the frame, modifying the length of the barrel, modifying certain pieces could also mean that you try to make a semi-automatic gun fully automatic. Like a bump stock, for example, like it's very popular in the US. So I don't know what modified handgun means, and they're not saying what it means. But as far as I understand from the RCMP video that I played, those guns were legal guns, as in whoever owns them. I didn't see who it was yet, but I'm guessing that it is probably the father. They were there legally because they had been seized, then given back by the RCMP. So it's safe to say that whoever owned those firearms was a legal gun owner, but he was not. That's the problem. It's like stealing guns from a legal gun owner. If I steal the car of my neighbor and I go kill someone with it, is it my neighbor's fault? Those are the questions that we need to be able to address, and address them as the object that guns are and the objects that cars are. Because there's a lot more people that die from cars every year than guns. Yet we never blame the car for a car accident. We always blame the driver. Yet we always blame the gun in a shooting instead of the person that's shooting. There's a massive bias or hypocrisy between the way we address objects. A gun's an object. I own guns, and I've been owning guns for years, and you know what? I've never seen one of my guns grow legs and start shooting people. Never seen it. I've never seen that happen in my life, and I dare anybody out there to tell me that they saw a little gun grow little legs and start shooting people. It is always the person that is using those guns, that is using that car, that is problematic, not the object itself. Seems like Rob is having a lot of issues with his internet connection tonight. So I'm going to take some comments. Edgeford 9257 is saying oddly Canadian preppers recorded on a total breach of personal info of 2 million Canadian gun owners yesterday. Yes, that is absolutely right. You're absolutely correct. There was, oh, sorry, I wasn't showing the comment. My apologies. Thank you for the tip, by the way. But yes, you're absolutely right. It was reported that there was a security breach at the RCMP where they keep the name and the information of gun owners like myself. So basically, my information has been leaked to hackers, and we don't know to which extent yet. But from what I've read, it could be my address with the guns that I own that are registered with the government. So basically, the RCMP has had a security breach that leaked information to obviously hackers, criminals, and now those criminals know who owns firearms in Canada, what their address are. They don't know everything that person owns, because if it was an unrestricted firearm, you did not have to share that information with the government. But they would know who has valid licenses, meaning who owns guns in Canada, and their address. So obviously that is extremely problematic, but you're absolutely right. And thank you for the tip, as I mentioned before. I want to know what you guys think, because I still have a video I want to show. We still have quite some times. I just want to give a chance to Rob to come back, because he just texted me saying that he is definitely having issues with his internet connection. I'm just going to check the actual message he sent me here. If you guys don't mind holding for a second, I'm just going to make sure, because he did say that he's having issues. So let's see what he said. Like 10 seconds. I'm going to get it figured out. So oh, okay. So I guess he just left. His lag was so bad. He was 10 seconds behind, he was saying. So it looks like we've lost Rob for today, but it's okay. That means more comments from you guys. But let's hit, oh, you know what? I love that comment. I completely agree with you. A cowboy with a camera. Facts are not political. And no, they're not. I'm really tired of people telling me that I shouldn't speak about certain things because I'm politicizing a certain topic, but I'm not the one that made it political. I'm just addressing the problem, and you're absolutely right. Facts are not political. They're not. Facts are facts. Whatever you do with the facts, that's on you. But facts are just that. Facts. Couldn't agree with you more. Before I show you the video of Mark Carney and what he had to say about this in the House of Commons today, I want to remind people, if you are a first-time watcher, first-time listener, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow us. If you're on X, come over to the YouTube channel at Real Nicolagan. Just come. We want to hear from you. We want to see your comments. If you want to support independent media, we do have a buy me a coffee option right there at the top left, QR code that you can scan. We also have a subscription model on our YouTube channel. But at the end of the day, what we want is to hear from you guys. We want to have a conversation. So make sure to subscribe and leave your comments in the comment section. But here is what Mark Carney... Oh, actually, before I do that, because earlier today I posted quite a few bit about this today, and one of the things that I said is that the liberals would do what they do best: use tragic events like Tumbler Ridge, BC, the mass shooting to push their agenda. You know the expression, don't let a good tragedy go to waste. And I don't like saying this because it sounds wrong, but I'm not the one that made that up. This quote is attributed to Winston Churchill, but I don't think it's accurate. But either way, what I'm saying is that politicians are always going to use tragedy in order to push their agenda. And I was saying that this morning, and then I don't want to say funny enough because that doesn't sound right, but it is the proper expression. Funny enough, a couple hours after I posted this, what do I see? I see this article from CTV News saying mass shootings in Canada have helped prompt changes to firearm laws over the decades. So they're basically confirming what I'm saying, that the liberals, and it's unfortunate, I don't like to make it a left versus right issue because God knows that the conservatives are not conservatives, but it is the liberal governments at least that are going after firearms. But here's the truth. Every time there's a mass shooting in Canada, the government goes after guns. And they blame legal gun owners for those tragedies. And here are the numbers. I don't know if you guys know this, but there hasn't been a lot of school shooters or school shooting or even mass shootings in Canada. Right? There's been, from what I could find, there's only been 4 of them, like 4 major ones since 1989. So you had, before today, or before yesterday, you had the mass shooting that took place in Nova Scotia back in 2020, where 22 people were murdered during a 13-hour rampage. That's what triggered the liberals to start their gun bans. So back in 2020, they started banning guns. That's what we're seeing today. The gun buyback, the gun grab is the amnesty period being over. Now it's time to give away our guns that the government started banning back in 2020. And we're talking about over 2,500 firearms models have been banned since that last mass shooting that took place in Nova Scotia almost 6 years ago. Then before that, it was in 2016, La Loche, I'm not sure how they pronounce it, La Loche Community School in Saskatchewan, where 4 died and 7 were injured. Then before 2016, it was 2006 at Dawson College, 1 dead, 19 injured. And then it was in 1989 at École Polytechnique in Montreal, where 14 people died. But since 1989, that's 37 years, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mass shooting in Canadian, we'll say Canadian history, because I didn't find any mass shooting before 1989. But we're talking about 5 events. The guns are always blamed, and they are going to be blamed again. Just like I said this morning when I posted first thing this morning, the CTV News article came out that I just showed, basically saying how mass shootings are used to put more gun control in place. Just look at what happened at Port Arthur in Australia back in 97, if my memory serves me right. There was a shooting, and afterwards they started banning guns left, right, and center. And here is Mark Carney in the House of Commons today, and he's hinting pretty strongly at what's coming. Listen to Mark Carney in the House of Commons earlier today.
We have been here before. École Polytechnique in Montreal, the Islamic Cultural Center of Quebec City, La Loche, Saskatchewan, Humboldt, Saskatchewan, Potepic, Nova Scotia. Each time, it breaks us open. Each time, Canadians show who we are. Mr. Speaker, in the days ahead, there'll be important questions to ask, difficult conversations to have. We owe that to the victims and their families.
That's pretty telling. What does a video like that tell you? I listen to this and all I'm hearing is we are coming after your guns. That's all I can hear when I listen to a speech like this. What do you guys think? Because to me, that is a massive indication that they are going to use the shooting that took place in Tumbler Ridge to push their gun grab further, because it wasn't doing well. Their gun grab was not doing well. You look at most of the police forces in Canada seem to be saying that they're not going to enforce it. Most of the provinces are not going to enforce it. Last time I saw, you looked at the biggest province, you're talking about Quebec, that was still interested in pushing it forward, and BC. But Alberta is not going to enforce it. Manitoba is not going to enforce it. Saskatchewan's not going to enforce it. Ontario made it pretty clear that they're not going to enforce it. A lot of police forces throughout Canada are not going to enforce it. So it wasn't going well. Now, we can. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of, was that a psyops or wasn't it? Was this something that was planned or not? I don't know. There's no way for us to know this, but it doesn't really matter right now because the impact is going to be the same. You know that they're going to use that to their advantage. You just listened to what Mark Carney just said. He made it pretty clear that he will go after guns. He's not saying it, but you know what he's saying. If you can read between the lines, he's being very clear about what his intentions are. You look at CTV, which is mainstream media bought to you by the Liberal government of Canada, that's already talking about how mass shootings in Canada have helped prompt changes to firearm laws over the decades. And the important word in that is helped. As in, yeah, they go after your guns after mass shootings. So you guys tell me, we have some time. We're 13 minutes. We still have 13 minutes. I don't have more to share with you guys. I'm going to leave you with a question before I take your comments. But the question I have for you guys is the same thing I've said earlier. Does Canada have a gun problem, or do we have a mental health crisis? Because that's the question we need to answer. This is the problem that we need to address. I've never seen a gun grow little gun legs and start shooting people. I've always seen it's always people that tend to shoot people. Guns are just inanimate objects that don't move by themselves. It's whoever controls that firearm that is problematic, not the firearm itself. So what do you guys think? Do we have a gun problem, or do we have a mental health crisis in Canada? Let's take some of your comments. Oh, you know what? We'll start right here. David FL507 is saying, do we know if there was a dad in the household? That's a good question, because Rob seemed to indicate earlier that the legal firearms in the household were owned by the father. I did not see that anywhere. I'm not saying that he's wrong. I'm just saying I did not see that. That has not been reported in any piece of information that I've seen. All I know is that the mother died, the mother was murdered, and so was the stepson, his stepbrother, basically. He murdered his stepbrother and his mother. So it's safe to assume that there was a father, but I don't know. Seems to indicate Ray Davis is saying single mom. But that doesn't make... So that would mean that the mother owned those firearms, which is possible. Obviously, women can own firearms, and I know plenty that do. So is that possible? Yep. See, here you go. A cowboy with a camera is saying the same. Single mom for the info released. That's what I could find too, is that it was just the mom and the stepbrother. But who knows? Who knows? I guess we're going to continue covering this over the next few days. No questions about it. We need to keep on top of this, because obviously I'm a gun owner, so I have to keep an eye on what's going on to see when are they going after my guns again. Let's see some of the comments, because again, guys, I want to know what you guys think. Are we facing a gun problem, or do we have a mental health crisis on our hands in Canada? Um, David is saying it looked like there were a formidable looking safe. How secure the safe was. How secure the safe was. That's another question. Yeah, I saw that safe. It looked like a similar safe I've owned before. It's metal. So, and not very hard to get into. You can easily, well, easily, you can pop the door off of those things. It's not that complicated. But at the same time, I've also had a real safe that was fireproof, that was probably half an inch to an inch thick. You were not getting into that safe unless you were ready to spend hours with a blowtorch on it, which obviously you can get in pretty much everything. But yeah, the safe didn't seem that safe. Yeah, safe. That's not really that safe. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Let's see here. Walking Campbell's cat. Your guns are probably in a locker, like the gun he stole should have been. This is the real question, and I agree with you guys. How were those firearms kept? Because if the guns are in a safe in a locked room on top of that, you're not supposed to be able to access them. So that's the question. How were those firearms kept? And not only that, but firearm owners will often keep the ammunition separate from the guns themselves. So you have them in two different safes. Those are not toys. At the end of the day, I've owned firearms for a long time now, and those are not toys. Let's be honest here. I'm not downplaying how dangerous firearms can be, because they can be extremely dangerous. You need to be very careful with firearms, and you need to treat them with the respect that they deserve. But what I'm saying is that firearms don't kill people. People kill people. Let me see here. Yeah. Doxing. Vesperia Rose is saying doxing gun owners now. Yeah, because of the leak. Absolutely, because of the leak that happened where it seems like 2 million gun owners' records were stolen, were hacked. So yeah, we're being doxxed. It's a good way to say it. It's definitely problematic that the information of people like me have been hacked, so people know where I live, and especially where my guns are, because that's problematic. That's very problematic. You don't want criminals to know where firearms are, because guess what? Criminals don't follow the law, and they might try to steal them. So, Eugene. Oh, not Eugene. Evergreen S2D is saying, my grandmother taught me gun safety at 11. Listen and learned. I agree. I completely agree. I don't know if you're a guy or a woman, but I completely agree. Safety is everything when it comes to firearms. You need to treat your firearms with the respect that they deserve, because they are dangerous tools. No questions about it. I will never downplay how dangerous firearms can be, but as personal information, like personal experience, if you train your kids. So I got a friend of mine, lives in the US, and he has 4 kids. He has three sons, 2 sons, 2 girls, and they all know how to use firearms. They're all under 15 years old. They're I don't know their age exactly. I'm a guy. I'm very bad with kids' ages, but probably I would say 10 to 15, 8 to 15 is where their range are in. And they all know how to use firearms. You could literally leave a loaded firearm on a table. They will not touch them, because they know how dangerous those firearms are, but they also understand how they work. If you take the time to train your kids on how to properly use a firearm, how to treat that firearm, they will not be curious to just play with them, because they understand what those firearms are and what they're capable of doing, and you train them. I have a 7-month-old son. Obviously, way too young for firearms, but as soon as he's ready, I'm going to teach him how to properly operate a firearm and make sure that he understands that those tools are dangerous. And that's what we need to do. And who knows what the relationship between a firearm owner in that household was with the shooter. Did he understand how dangerous firearms were? I don't know. But at the end of the day, what we do know is that he had access to those firearms somehow, and he had mental issues. We're talking about a dude that thought he was a woman. So we're talking serious mental illnesses close to firearms. That is a recipe for disaster, as we saw. I'm just gonna see here. Yeah, see, Trevor is saying schools only breed activists. You're bringing an interesting point, because I can tell you that my son's never gonna he's never gonna attend one of those indoctrination centers that we call schools nowadays. He's gonna be homeschooled. But you look at what our school system have become, they're not places of learning common sense anymore. Like, I'm a bit too young for this, and I'm in my 40s, but how many stories have I heard of the generation before me where they would go to the school with a gun on a gun rack in their truck? Like, how many Americans? I've met a lot of Americans over the past few years, because my wife and I did 30 states over the past 4 years in an RV. And how many stories have we heard of people, they were going to hunt after school and they had their firearm on display in their truck during the school, and then they'd go hunt, and that would be no problem. It was normal. At one point, shooting was normal in schools, as in it was taught in school. This was normal for people to know, understand how to operate a firearm. Again, it's a tool. So yes, I agree with you, Trevor. Yeah, he's also saying that you should be better off to educate your son alone. Yeah, no questions about that. Yeah, that's another good point. Vesperia Rose is saying that Texas doesn't have a problem and most own guns there. You know, I spent quite a bit of time in Texas. I spent quite a bit of time in Arizona. I spent quite a bit of time in Alabama. We spent a lot of time. We spent 3 winters in Alabama over the past 4 years. And I would say out of the two, and that's a personal experience, I don't know the actual per capita firearm possession between Texas and Alabama. I don't know what is how many guns there are in those states and how many people own them. But from just a personal experience, I would say that more people own firearms in Alabama than they do in Texas. Yet people are a lot more polite. Don't trust what the TV tells you or mainstream media tells you. People in the South, like Arizona, Texas, you're talking Alabama, are very polite. Extremely, extremely polite compared to Canada. And, you know, one of the reasons why is because a lot of people have firearms and you don't know who has firearms. You know, there's an old expression that says that a polite society is an armed society. So, yeah, there's a lot of education that's missing in Canada. And I'm hoping, I reached out, just so you guys know, I did reach out to some really big names when it came to firearm, like lobby groups today, lawyers, and they're not ready to address what happened in Tumbler Ridge today, and yesterday, and I understand why. It's a very political issue right now. At least that's what they're making it to be. Not the guest that I was trying to, not the guest that I was trying to get, but the news and the government is making it very political. But it is a touchy subject in Canada. Very, very touchy subject. And I really hope that the biggest gun lobby groups in Canada and the criminal lawyers out there, the lawyers that are defending people for I don't want to say gun violence, but let's say self-defense with a firearm, or people that own firearms and they did something wrong when it comes to what the RCMP believes. I hope they become a lot more vocal, even more vocal, because as gun owners in Canada, we're facing a massive amount of prejudice. Yet, I've seen some reports that were saying that the safest people in Canada were firearm owners, as in legal firearm owners, because we're so vetted to get those firearms that we're all pretty much good people, as in we're not criminal. We normally tend to endorse the police. We normally tend to follow the law because we do want to keep our firearms. And that's obviously one of the things that you need to do as a firearm owner, is to follow the law, or else you're going to lose your guns. As I said, I've said this multiple times, but I'll say it again. As a firearm owner, my name is ran in 2 federal databases to make sure that I didn't commit a crime that would cause me to lose my firearms. And that's a fact. I am more watched than a convicted pedophile out on parole. And that's a fact. You can argue me, you can hate that, but that's a fact. So what's the solution here? Education. I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot of education. That's what I'm hoping for. That people like me, because I'm going to be talking about this all the time. All the time. As you can see, over the past couple of weeks, we've had some of the biggest names when it comes to firearm in Canada. We had Blair Higgins, which is one of the VP of communications for the NFA. We had Tracy Wilson on the show, which is the VP of public relations for the CCFR. Last week, we had Ian Runkle, lawyer, criminal lawyer. I didn't think he liked it when I called him a criminal lawyer, but criminal defense lawyer and gun enthusiast, and very big voice when it comes to firearms in Canada, Ian Runkle, on the show. So I'm really hoping that those guys continue talking and talking and talking. And, you know, as a cowboy with a camera saying, education is key to safety, but sadly more people spread fear over education. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I see it all the time when it comes to firearms. We're so demonized for owning a firearm, yet, like I said, we are considered, as per the reports that I've seen, to be the most trustworthy, like the trustworthy people in Canada. We're the least common people to become criminal. So on that note, guys, we're going to call it a day. It's 8:02. Went a tiny bit over, but that's all good. Seems to have a lot of new faces on the show today. So guys, make sure, if you're new to the show, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe to the show. We want to see you again, because this is the whole point, is to have a conversation with you guys. We want to know what you guys think. Normally I have a co-host. He's a liberal. I'm a Christian conservative. And we debate. We talk about stuff that we agree on. Some we don't agree. Often we disagree on the solution, but we agree that there's a problem. But like I said, I have a co-host that normally Rob Ambrose is with me, but he's having internet issues. So he had to drop off. But hopefully we see you guys again. We definitely will be speaking about this more. On that note, I want to wish every single one of you a good evening, a good rest of your day. Thank you for being here. Make sure to like, make sure to follow. If you want to encourage us, we have a QR code at the top left of your screen where you can buy us a coffee. You can become a member on the YouTube channel for $2.99 a month. But at the end of the day, we want to see you back. So make sure to subscribe and give us some comments. We will be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here. Until then, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.